shot by a police officer in Chicago. Of course, in Minneapolis, we've all been following this trial. George Floyd's family waiting now for this verdict in one of the most consequential.
She just flashed a map for a split second and then took it right down.
CNN, the one person I knew I wanted to have on, my friend, activist, rapper, father, community leader, Michael Render, Killer Mike. Mike, I love you. Thank you for making the time. I know you've been head down for months in a recording studio, so thank you. Thank you for coming on with me.
I mean, thank you for having me. You just unofficially announced I've been recording, but I've been recording for the past 6 months, so I haven't.
Sorry, Mike.
I appreciate it. It's look, what better place to come out and say, hey, I've been rapping for sure. I love it.
I love you and I apologize. Let's do it. I interviewed you, I think for the first time, it was 7 years ago in the wake of Ferguson, and here we are again and again and again. You know, we're having these conversations. This is America. You're a father. How are you doing?
Well, man, it's been a rough week. My youngest son went on dialysis and is going to need a kidney transplant in the next couple of years. So I'm going to talk more about that as the summer comes. So I want to wish him solidarity and love as I was supposed to be at the center with him today. But Pony Boy, Michael Render, your dad loves you, and I hope you're watching. I'd like to say as a dad in this country, it's a scary time because officers of the state continue to use the uniform of the state in an abusive way. And that isn't just the killing, that is the abuse of the way that I've seen people online be talked to by police. That's in the way I've seen a U.S. soldier be engaged by a police officer, a lieutenant. That's in the way that I'm seeing people who have the authority of the state, including people who belong to the United States Army, bullying a black child in the same neighborhood. There is something wrong in this country where regular citizens who are empowered by the state are choosing to abuse that power on other citizens. And I think a day of reckoning is coming in which the proletariat, the greater base of us, the actual citizens who pay with our tax dollars, these people taxes, there's a day coming in which everything must radically change. Law enforcement and the way laws are enforced must change. The people who make laws, it's going to have to change or we will not be electing them. And the way that people have the opportunity to be protected once they make brutal mistakes like killing people has to be changed, which is why Ben Cohen and I, Ben and Jerry's Ice Cream, are pushing the line for the ending of qualified immunity, which will allow, finally, officers of the state to be held accountable for things they're doing.
Your father was a police officer. You have two cousins who are police officers. I have been in your barbershop, swag shop, right, where the door is open, members of the community, members of the law enforcement community. But Mike, I mean, ultimately, black men and boys and women continue to be killed at the hands of law enforcement in this country. You mentioned your project with Ben, but how else? How else do we make it stop?
Well, qualified immunity is a big one because in America understands two things, violence and money. If you're able to finally to not only sue the departments in the cities, because what's happening is policemen are killing people that look like me and people who do not look like me. They're killing poor people, working class people. They're killing people. And then you get to sue, and we have to not only pay for the police, continue to pay for their pensions, then as a city, as taxpayers, we have to pay the families. The families would much rather have a live citizen, right? A live family member. So let's get qualified immunity thrown out. But beyond that, I am not a fan of people policing areas that they don't look like the people there. They're not sympathetic or empathetic to the people there. They do not live in that community. If you're a white man,
you think that matters? So I was talking to Chief Ramsey, and he said not necessarily, and he's been in policing, black man, been in policing for 40 years, but you say absolutely.
Absolutely. I have no personal disagreement with Chief Ramsey, but what I do say is Chief Eldrin Bell out of Atlanta, Georgia, was inspired to be a policeman by the first 8 black policemen in Atlanta who were not even allowed to carry guns or arrest white citizens. They had to change clothes in the Butler Street. Why? Because they weren't allowed to change clothes in a police station. It's because of those first 8 officers that Eldrin Bell, one of our best police chiefs, became a police chief. It's because of those officers that men like my father and cousins were able to be policemen here. So I absolutely, unequivocally disagree. If your city is 50% black and you don't have a 50% or better black police force, then you're going to encounter problems. I don't care if that's Detroit, Chicago, Atlanta, Tampa, Jacksonville, or anywhere in between. If you're not only black, but if you're not a black person that's sympathetic and empathetic to the community. I introduced the world to Tommy Norman 7 years ago.
Yes.
Since then, you've got to see Tommy Norman communicate. deal with his community. You got a chance to see him marry a black woman. You got a chance to see him be a person who is sympathetic and empathetic to the people you're policing. It's no way that an officer of the state who is brown should be harassing and spraying in the eyes, pepper spray, of another brown person. So that brown person shouldn't be a police officer. I need him replaced with a brown person that understands and will walk and talk that other brown person through in the same way I've seen a 61-year-old white man hit a policeman with a hammer, drive off with a cop on his car, and get taken in without being shot. The state is empowering people who look like me and don't look like me to be less empathetic, to be less sympathetic, and to be more brutal. This must end. If you cannot empathize with the community you are in, you should not be policing that community.
I'm just going to let that sit for a second. And I just want to broaden this out. This is really my last question for you is, you know, something that you said once upon a time to me really sat in my heart. I wrote about it in my book. You offer, you know, this is outside of law enforcement, something so simple. Every single person watching can do this. And it touched me so deeply when you said it to me in 2014. I had my team cut this soundbite, roll it. This is Killer Mike back in 2014. On a daily level, how can we make this better?
First of all, we can get out of our comfortable norms, meaning you can go to a different church with a friend on Sunday and have a different experience. You can engage in a different social climate than you're accustomed to. You can make a friend that doesn't look like you, and you can find someone who's not like you to converse with and be open and honest with.
Do you remember that and how that is so damn important?
Absolutely. I challenge you who just heard that for the first time. I challenge the people that have heard it 7 years ago that may not have done it, do it. This Friday,
white fragility really means white stupidity.
This Saturday, go to the synagogue with your Jewish friend. This Sunday, go to a Christian church with your Christian friend. Go to a different church or mosque or synagogue. Go to a different temple. Go somewhere and meet someone and have a conversation with someone who is not like you, not from your cultural background, and continue to push humanity forward. I got an opportunity to ask the Dalai Lama a question a few days ago. I asked him why, when every religious organization, every religion ever has told us that love is the greatest conqueror of all, do we as human beings continually choose fear? I don't know if he answered the question directly, but the answer he gave me was profound. We must put our religious and cultural differences aside and out the door and see ourselves as one species and race and people. The only way that you ever get to that oneness is to acknowledge your differences, to make friends with people who are different from you so that you can see and acknowledge the differences on a personal level and then begin to see the similarities that bond us all. The Creator that put my people closer to the equator, which caused me to be darker with curly hair, is the same Creator that caused people in the Caucasus Mountain to have lighter skin and longer hair. There is no difference in the origin and where we're from because we were created by a thing with a purpose to have us here to live in peace and love and harmony. And every day we choose not to connect with others is a day we choose chaos and warfare over that.
Killer Mike, I love you. I hope you'll still talk to me after I said the thing.
Absolutely. I love and respect you immensely. I always will. What better place for the world to know that I've been rapping? And not non-CNN related, but fellow journalists, I want to send love and respect out to Jovita Moore. She's local in Atlanta. You know her. She's having surgery for brain tumors, and we just pray because she, like you, has been a person of integrity on our
He talks so fast. Besides the fact you don't even know what he's saying, you don't need to realize he's not saying anything.
Love and respect. Killer Mike, thank you. We'll be right back.
What stupid thing is she going to say next?